And we are live. Hey, everybody. I believe, yep, there we are. We are here. Let me make a little adjustment there. Welcome to another episode of Critical Conversations. All right. And you see here that I am not joined tonight by my beautiful wife, Melissa, as I had absolutely hoped that I would be. Because, hey, Toronto, because she has fallen ill. Now, we don't know yet whether this is a COVID-19 incident or not. We're not freaking out. She's fine. She took today off work. She's been resting. She's, doing some stuff right now. But she has spoken with a doctor. The symptoms are not like insane or anything like that. So she's just resting and chilling and taking care of herself this week. So we're going to let her do that. And that left me here to do the show alone. So I'm checking. My eyes are going to be kind of all over the place here this evening because I don't have a second pair of eyes to kind of manage everything and keep it going. Okay, good. So it's good to see you guys too. I am so happy to be joined by you guys. And I think we'll have a good show anyway. I did bring some talking points, which we will go over. This has been a pretty wild week. Kind of some noise and, shall I say, drama has been dying off, which is great. At new interest and reviving some things. On like the MLM, the multi-level marketing series that I'm going to do. That's actually coming up real fast for this channel, and there's going to be a few videos there, interviews with people mainly who are already experts or knowledgeable or have been down those roads on MLM. And I've been down the research trail for the last couple days on that again. And man, it's not like the information isn't out there. And yes, observational person there, Jennifer. These are my peanut M&Ms. I thought I should have them here. I usually have them over at my desk. I didn't think I'd really have much chance to eat while I was talking to you guys. But I thought, well, why not? All right, let's see here. Yeah, I will definitely share. All right. Oh yeah, sea silver, that's right. Oh yeah, Preacher 1138 asks, any word from Charlie Wakeley? I actually specifically checked again yesterday and today. He has not deleted my comments on his videos, which I found fascinating because I left two. Okay, Charlie Wakeley is a staff member of the London Org, staff level Scientologist, not Sea Org, as far as I know. And yeah, peanut M&Ms. And he's got a YouTube channel. Now, he also hasn't posted anything in the last week or so on his YouTube channel. He has been gaining some more subscribers, which is kind of interesting, but he hasn't posted any new talky, hey, here I am, let's go over another chapter of the Scientology handbook. Hasn't done that since we last checked in with him. He's posted, I think, an interview or two, which I can't tell where they were from. So maybe he's still active. He's still got the channel up. Really surprising. Like I said, it's very, very odd that a Scientologist has an active YouTube channel and he doesn't seem to be moderating my comments out of existence. So, hey, what's up with this, And I'll just say that if that was a sea change and Scientologists actually started making YouTube channels and started promoting and putting their stuff out there, that would be a good thing, because then they would be opening themselves up to being challenged, being asked direct, pointed, sharp questions. And if they didn't moderate it all out of existence, then maybe, some of that would get through to them. I think that would be a little bit of a surprise for some of them coming out and trying to do that. So we'll see. I'm not jumping to any conclusions on this at all. Very curious. Where it's going to go and what we're going to see out of Charlie, but that's the update on him. Okay. Now, I do have some talking points, so I guess now would be a good time to get into the first one. While I will encourage folks out there, the call in line is listed right there. It is 984 214 4154. Feel free to give me a call if you want to talk about something. I am down to have conversations. But in the meantime, let's talk about a couple other things that happened this week in the Scientology world first, because one, it's interesting, two, disturbing, and three, disappointing. Which I was not. I was very disappointed. I had a day of ultimate pessimism. I was very, very upset on Monday when this word came out about this. But actually, a couple things. First thing, um, this didn't get me down so much. I kind of expected this actually. But Mark Bunker, Clearwater City Council, there was a story from Tracy McManus in the Tampa Bay Times about the new city council on Monday conducted its first public discussion on an issue voters raised as a top concern in the recent election, the Church of Scientology's impact on downtown. Okay, now I don't want to read the whole story, but basically Tracy breaks down that Mark Bunker, our man inside, so to speak, um, put forward the idea that they should reach out to the FBI about Scientology shenanigans in Clearwater and see about opening an investigation into the direction of, excuse me, of possibly pursuing some kind of RICO legislation. And if you guys have watched my podcasts with Jeff Wassel, where we have broken down from the point of view of forensic accounting and financial tracings and those kind of things, that would be a kind of prosecution or investigation vector that is the same as what they do when they take on the mafia. And Jeff and I have spoken at some length about how Scientology's structure and operation is a lot like the mafia in many ways, structured very similarly. So a RICO investigation or prosecution might be just the ticket. Um, but oh yeah, Aaron Smith Levin did a video on this. Great. Okay, cool. Did not see that. I've been a little busy. Anyway, yeah. So pursuing that would be great. It's exactly what we've wanted, and it's exactly the kind of words and motions that we've wanted out of Clearwater City Council since the first hearings back in the 80s. But unfortunately, um, they decided that they weren't going to do anything about it. And what Tracy wrote in the story is that Bunker said, I don't know why we couldn't reach it to the FBI and say, look at what is happening here. Look at these red flags. If there is wrongdoing that's uncovered on a scale like the RICO Act, then definitely the IRS should reconsider the tax exempt status, and stripping Scientology of that would bring money back into the city and show that the city is willing to not just sit back and continue to be stabbed in the back. That's a quote from Mark Bunker. I mean, that's great. That is exactly what we want to be hearing him saying at these city council meetings. And she goes into the city council structure and what's going on there. And the council on Monday advocated focusing on Imagine Clearwater, which is this program there, this big renovation downtown project they're doing to beautify and attract more people to the downtown Clearwater area, spend more money, etc. So they wanted to focus on Imagine Clearwater to give residents and visitors a reason to come downtown. Officials did not acknowledge that even if the project is built out as planned, the purchases of commercial property around the waterfront give the church significant control over whether retail and restaurants follow. This guy, David Albritton, is another city council member, and this guy really, really negatively impressed me with what he was saying here. He said, whether you consider Scientology a religion or not, they are here. It's going to do nothing for telling a positive story about downtown. And the church didn't respond. Al Britton urged communication with Miscavige, like two conversations that have taken place since the publication of the Times October investigation. City Manager Bill Horn, City Attorney Pam Aiken, and Assistant City Manager Michael Delk met with Miscavige in November and January after 3 years of silence. They did not press Miscavige about his involvement with the properties, and the council on Monday did not urge them to seek those answers. Um, just one last quote here. If they've legally acquired those properties, whether they sit on them or not, or whether they paid cash or paid 4 times as much, I totally agree it's a red flag, Beckman said. I totally agree it's not the norm and it makes you wonder, but you don't have a legal right to demand an answer for it. So basically, these guys are a bunch of chicken shits. I mean, to be blunt. And they are not about to do anything about the Scientology problem in Clearwater. And that, of course, is disappointing, but it is entirely predictable as well. The city council has had its thumb up its ass about Scientology from day one. And now that somebody is there who is not going to let them just do that, they're pushing back. And I'm anticipating it's going to get worse before it gets better, because it's one against many. And Mark Bunker's a new kid on the block. He's going to have to get slapped into place, blah, blah, blah. And basically, like I said, I really do think that that's kind of just horseshit. You know, Scientology's just run rampant over Clearwater for decades now. And these people are afraid. And it's not like I don't understand their fear. They're sitting right on the doorstep of the biggest Scientology base in the world. Millions and millions of dollars invested into those properties by the Church of Scientology over these years. There are, you know, a not insignificant number of Scientologists in the downtown area, all the Sea Org members and public Scientologists who come around. So the city council guys are probably, you know, a little afraid. Well, that's nice, but they still need to do their job. And not doing their job, they are doing the city a disfavor. They are doing themselves a disfavor. The citizens of Clearwater are not being served. Their best interests are not being served by allowing Scientology to continue to run rampant this way and not ask questions, at least, not look for some help. I mean, you know, if there's no investigation, if the FBI looks at it and goes, you know, come back if you got some more, or here's what we would want to look for, or here's what we're looking at, or something. But the city council can't even be bothered to ask the question. And, you know, what do you say about that? Well, you say that that Scientology's reputation definitely is big and a problem for those people, and it's still no excuse. They are acting craven, cowardly. You know, it's not a good look. And hopefully, the citizens of Clearwater are paying attention, because Mark Bunker was voted in absolutely without question to do something about the Scientology problem. So it would be kind of wonderful if the citizens of Clearwater would step up at this point right now, as the citizens have, if I'm addressing any Clearwater citizens, which I doubt I am, but on this situation, if the citizens of Clearwater would go, hey, wait a second, and I think this is wonderful that Tracy McManus is doing this reporting and, you know, keeping like the city council's feet to the fire on this. And I hope that that pressure works to get them to, you know, as we used to say, pull finger. You know. All right. So, oh, silly me. I did not change the date on the show this week. Oh, well. My bad. It's always probably going to be something until I put some kind of checklist together for all this, which I'm not used to doing. I'm not really that organized. All right. So, yeah, exactly. How about using the whistleblower hotline? I agree. You know, like I said, the citizens can step up. They should be flooding the Clearwater City Council members with phone calls, with emails demanding, hey, let's see some action out of you people. Let's stop being so afraid of Scientology and let's do what is best for the city of Clearwater and not what's best for Scientology. Because I guarantee you, from all of my experience with this and everything I know about Scientology, they do not have the best interests of Clearwater at heart. The Church of Scientology could care less about the city of Clearwater. They just want to own and control as much of the area around them as they possibly can, so that they basically take over, and what they say is what goes. And that's right out of Hubbard's policies on what to do and how to get Scientology to take over. And that is what they are trying to do. So it's not some weird paranoia or, I'm overstating the case or something. And I think all you guys know that, but that's the deal there. All right. So now, oh, and we've got a call. All right, let's see what we've got here. Somebody from Washington. And let's see. Hello?
Yes, I got a comment about Scientology. I've seen their propaganda photo, their propaganda. It seems like it comes across as very, very creepy and strange.
The Scientology propaganda is creepy and strange?
It seems like everything's over the top, and they're just using, it looks like stock footage.
Yes, they are. And the people that you see, what's so funny is all the commercials, all the videos and stuff they put together, almost all of those people that you're seeing in their commercials and stuff aren't even Scientologists. They're just paid actors because they can't make too much content anymore with Scientologists because they leave too fast. And they end up getting the boot out of Scientology, and then they can't use that promo anymore because they're, they got bad people in the promo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems like they have the same technology that Disney and other studios have, and yet they still can't make a decent video.
No, they can't, because they can't take the creepy factor out because they're creepy. At least that's
yeah.
Now, is your name Mark? Did I get that right out of the queue here?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hi, Mark.
I've been watching you for a while now. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Great.
I got my tablet on my dash, and I'm watching you on my tablet, and I'm talking to you on my phone.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you called in. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about in regards to any of that? Excuse me, any of that?
A friend of mine, I dared him to go into Ideal Oregon in Seattle, and they went in there. They came out 20 minutes later completely creeped out because they went in there. They just attacked from all sides. One person wanted to sound about the books. Person wanted to take the personality test. The third person was trying to get his financial information.
Yeah. 3-on-1. Damn, dude. They are desperate.
And he thought he would have to use his pepper spray on them.
Yeah, that might work. But
with me, I've always been a rebel, and if I was doing Scientology, I'd be a bull in a china shop. I'd be raising so much hell they wouldn't know what to do with me.
Awesome. Well, that's exactly why you'll never be a Scientologist. Excuse me. Awesome, man.
Okay. I want you to screen. It's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It's all flickering. It's all flickering.
Interesting. All right. No, I think we got I'm seeing a pretty clear transmission here. I think it's your tablet.
Okay. Okay. I did get the thing from the lowest bidder, so.
Yeah.
It could be that I'm on the phone with you, and the tablet could be interfering with each other.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Cool. Well, listen, okay. I'm gonna let you go, man. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate hearing from you.
Okay, great.
All right, man. Talk to you. Oop. There we go. Boom. All right. Cool. All right, and we've got Luann Jones, I believe, in the queue here. Wants to talk about Scientology. So let's see. Picking this call up here. Hello. You are on.
Hi, Chris.
Hey. Luann, do I have that right?
Yeah.
Great.
You got that right.
Welcome to Critical Conversations. Thanks for calling. What's up?
Excited to be talking to you.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
excited to talk to you.
just wanted to know what your thoughts were about. I just watched Aaron Smith Levin's latest video about Mark Bunker's meeting down in Clearwater. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I have not. I wish I
That's
had known that he had posted a video. I don't really check every day for that kind of thing. I would have watched it before I did this show here.
that's
What did
okay.
he talk about?
I'm just a huge Scientology follower. Never in, but just huge. Um, he was talking about it was a Clearwater City Council meeting, I believe,
Mhm.
and they were talking about Mark Bunker wanted the FBI, he wanted the council people to ask the FBI to come in and do a racketeering um, investigation in Clearwater
Mhm.
because of all the properties they've bought up and so on and so forth down in Clearwater.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the councilmen kind of missed out on it, on that questioning. And then, I don't know, it was kind of really disheartening because I just feel like one time, when Leah's show was going on and there was so much more, like videos, like Aaron was doing videos a lot.
Mm.
A lot of other people, Chris Crimmy was doing videos and
That's right.
Jeffrey Augustine was doing videos. And so it just seemed like there was a lot more push
Mhm.
towards doing something about it.
Right.
And now it just seems like that's all kind of died down. Or am I just missing it because I'm not in the know?
No, 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 you're not. It's definitely died down. And I mean, I've, continued producing content, of course, but I'm just one voice. And Leah, the show ended. Leah and Mike are now looking at perhaps doing a podcast. They sort of floated that idea. But
Right.
and they've been working with Child USA in terms of trying to forward laws and legislation to deal with child abuse, especially through religious stuff, right? Because that was with Marcy Hamilton, who I also had on my podcast, and she's a big advocate for that. So that's kind of happening. Mark Bunker got elected to city council, but other than that, yeah, you're right. There really isn't a whole lot going forward. And in fact, we were also handed a bit of a defeat with this dismissal, or not dismissal, but with Jane Doe dropping her part of the lawsuit on the whole on having been sexually exploited and abused as a child at Clearwater Academy back in the day.
Right.
So that got
Right.
dropped, which is the other story I'll go over probably in a few minutes. So yeah, there was a little bit of wind taken out of the sails recently, and I hear you on that.
So,
Um,
is there anything that a normal person, I mean, other than I wrote my congressman,
mhm,
you know, wrote the IRS, I've done what I can do, I feel like.
yep.
But is there anything else we can be doing? I mean, because I just feel like it's really crappy. I mean, it's just a really crappy situation when you have a police department in Los Angeles and a police department in Clearwater that don't want to be, that don't hold them responsible, first of all.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And, I just feel like it's really crappy. And I'm just like, what can we do? Or it's like the county attorney that won't press the charges against Danny Masterson.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
she,
Jackie
she, she
Lacey.
should not be holding, yeah, she should not be in that office then.
Exactly. Um,
You
well,
know,
here's what I've got for you on this. It's not a lot, but it is something. And I want to be clear that your and every other voice out there matter. Um, the Clearwater City Council, for example, needs to be hearing from people. Probably mostly they need to be hearing from people in Clearwater, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be hearing from people outside Clearwater because that will tell them that somebody's paying attention to what they're doing. I mean, everybody should be literally writing emails or calling their offices and saying, "Hey, what the hell? Why are you guys pushing back on Mark Bunker's requests to get, to at least ask the FBI for some help?" That's a simple call or a simple email, and it would matter. especially if a lot of you guys out there did something like that. The truth is that prosecuting or pursuing legal action against Scientology is difficult. It has always been the most difficult route to deal with Scientology because they have the highest paid lawyers, the highest class of lawyers they can find, even if those lawyers don't really have much of a conscience. They do have skill sets.
Isn't that sad?
It is.
Isn't
It's
that
very
sad?
sad. But they, there are those people out there. So Scientology hires those guys. We're talking about $1,000 an hour lawyers. They just put them on retainer and they just bring these guys in and they do all the tricks and jump through all the hoops and do all the things that need to be done so that Scientology is sort of, firewalled off from any consequences. And they've
Right.
got that world pretty taped up. I mean, it's not that they are undefeatable in court or legally. They have been defeated a couple times in civil suits and whatnot. But you got to come with your A game. And so far, these suits that have been brought against Scientology have been a little disappointing because these have not been the A team taking it on. And
Right.
so they get the runaround and they get the shenanigans that Scientology pulls. And I want to be fair in the spirit of Mark Bunker's interview with me a couple weeks ago. I want to be fair to the Clearwater police in that I'm not saying that the Clearwater police should get a pass on everything at all. But I am going to point out that it's awful hard for a law enforcement officer to get a victim testimony affidavit, signed statement. This is what happened to me. This is how I was abused. It all happened years ago. I don't have any physical evidence that proves my story. I have nothing to corroborate it exactly. This is just what happened. And then 20 people from the Church of Scientology submit signed affidavits, sworn testimony that everything this person said is totally a lie.
Right. I understand that too.
Yeah. It sucks.
It's hard.
It is
Yeah.
hard because it puts the law enforcement officials between a rock and a hard place. What are they supposed to do?
Right.
They know Scientology's dirty. It's not like Clearwater police are that stupid. But
Right.
what can they do, when it's piled on like that? And that's the kind of gaming of the system that I know that I'm talking about what Scientology does. So our war or effort or battle or whatever words you want to use for this, our effort is a PR effort, is a public relations, is a promotion, is a getting the word out there. It's exposing abuses. It's informing and educating the public at large. So the best thing that you and other people who are watching me and Leah and Mike and Aaron and us can do is signal boost what we're doing. Share it, popularize it, get it around. Not because I'm looking for subscribers or Aaron's looking for subscribers. It's because we want to get that word out. And we need
And
you
I
guys.
do share and
Yeah.
I do share and I do ask people to subscribe and
Yeah.
I get the word out there as I can, but I just feel like I'm just not doing enough. And I just feel bad that,
Yeah.
that I can't do more.
I hear you. I so hear you. I feel that way.
Yeah.
I wish I had better words right now, but I am gonna say that that you're raising a point that I need to think more about and offer some better ideas of what I can suggest for you guys out there. And I'm gonna put my thinking cap on
Okay.
that, and I'm gonna talk to Leah about it because I think there are things you guys can do that I'm probably just totally spacing on right now. And we're not looking for petitions and stuff like that. That's never really gone anywhere, But broad
Right.
public exposure of Scientology's abuses has. And
Right.
everybody's voice counts on that. And I mean literally everybody's. So
Yeah.
it might seem like it's not doing a whole lot, but I do want to let you know it does. It does matter what you do,
I keep up my part, so I keep it up.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris, for talking to me tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling.
All right.
All
Thanks.
right.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Got a couple more in the queue here. All right. Let's go up where at. Okay, so first off, Chris, what we can do. All right, so this is from Chris Clay. All right, well, let's see what we get here. Hello, caller.
Hey, good evening. How are you guys doing?
We're good. I'm good. This is Chris?
Good. It is. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, how can I help? What's up?
Okay, so just to piggyback on what you guys were just saying, as
Yeah.
far as like what you can do, right?
Yep.
So, I think so. We know if you sit in new public, raw meat going into an org, right?
Yep.
They tell people anything. So we saw what Ben and his buddy, I can't remember the other guy's name, right? These guys who went in with their spy glasses.
Oh, yeah, Ben. Yeah, Reckless Ben. Yes, and Mike.
Okay. If you had 100 people that went in as raw public and said, "Can you fix my eyesight? Can you fix my headaches? Can you fix my thing?" and you had a reg sitting there, especially now, they're going to tell you, yeah, every time. And every time they do that, we know that's a crime almost, right?
Almost.
Even if you had 10 people or 15 or 20, or, I mean, you reach a lot of people. 100 people, go into an org, sit down, ask them the question, can you help me? Can you do these things you promise? And, I think if you had enough, that'd be great, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm a little afraid of trying to incite people to go do something that might end up being interpreted or viewed as harassment. Little concerned about that. But they should definitely be confronted about their lies. I will say that, and I like your idea for
right.
that.
And I'm not telling anybody to harass people. So
I want to be clear.
There's lots of people looking. Right. There's lots of people looking for answers, and Scientology purports to give those answers.
Yep.
And some of those answers they purport to give is things that we know they can't deliver.
Correct.
So. And look, even if you went and paid for a comm course and whatever, it's $30 or $50 or something.
Yeah.
If there were enough people who were, and again, nobody wants to harass anybody, but just I think 10 people at one org or 15 people at two orgs or something that could make a difference.
I think
because
I think you could do that
without... Anybody who sits down in front of a reg knows you're going to get told all these lies and this,
No, well, for sure. And they're going to be, again, remember that at the early lower levels, the promises are not as grandiose as they used to be, or as, necessarily like practicing medicine without a license kind of promises, although that they're pretty shielded from that at this point with the whole religious thing.
I disagree. I disagree with recent experience within the last, say, 2 years. No, they will sell you.
Okay. Good.
They will sell you. We can fix your headaches.
Right. Okay. Good. Nailing them on those lies is a good idea. Confronting them on it up front is not a bad idea before you even have to pay any money. Because some people may be like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to go in there and spend money, right? So, okay, good.
No, you don't. Just walk right in there and say, hey, if everybody just walked in and said, hey, can you and take one of your ruin and say your ruin is your headaches or your eyesight, or just pick any one of these psychosomatic things that anybody has, right?
Yep.
Your fear of heights, who cares what it is, and they will say that they can fix that.
That makes total sense.
And it costs you nothing, and you just make a 10-minute recording, and I think that hopefully there's 10 people out there that might think about doing that, and that I really think I mean.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. It is, somebody's mentioning in the comments right now, some people may get sucked in. That actually crossed my mind too. You know, you got to go in there.
Well, let's hope that people that may think about doing this are a little smarter and more educated than that.
Exactly. I'm just saying, rather, you know, if you are going to do something like that, if you're going to go in there and start talking to Scientologists directly, definitely do some research first. Definitely know what you're walking into, because you are walking into the lion's den going into a Church of Scientology. Let's be clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so again, we were talking about things that people could do to help.
Absolutely.
And, you know, nobody should walk in blindly to anything. Do your research. Ask if you want to help. Ask me. I could tell you how you could go do that quickly and easily and upload it to wherever you wanted to. Right. And again, if there was 10 people that did that, especially if it was at the same org, because they're going to tell everybody, any reg is going to tell you the same thing, whatever they need to we know this.
Yep.
So,
no doubt.
I
hear you, man.
Yeah, good. So again, appreciate the call. You guys have a great night, and you know, let's keep up the good fight.
Thanks, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, and I think I just had thank you very much for that super chat. All right, glad you're still healthy and well. Critical. Keep up the good work. I intend to. Thank you very much for that. All right, and we do have another call in the queue. So let me just say first, just to kind of follow up on what we were just talking about there. Please do not walk into a Church of Scientology without knowing what you're walking into. If you do, if you're prepped, if you understand what's going to happen, and you're not necessarily, like, you're also prepped in terms of giving them fake address, phone number, even name, because if you give them your address and phone number, you will never stop hearing from them. They are, voracious? Dedicated? They are, man, once they get an address and a name, they just never let it go. So you definitely, you know, these are the kind of things you're going to want to know about, because I can't tell you everything here in this format as far as what to do to prep for something like that. But I am going to say that if you're going to go in there, definitely know what you're doing. I actually used to tell people, and I actually would still say this from a critical thinking point of view, and really just a freedom of thought point of view, you know, feel free to go in there. I mean, it's not like it's, you know, Siberia or something. I mean, you know, it's not a monster pit. They're just people. But just know what you're walking into, though. You know, that's all I'm trying to say, because it can be an educational experience. You know, Rachel Bernstein used to talk to me about going and checking out some groups, and she would kind of go in there and just go through their services or listen to what they had to say. I think she even mentioned she took her daughter along one time because she wanted to see what it was all about. I think they went to the Kabbalah. Yeah, I think they went to the Kabbalah thing, and then they went to some other thing, and, you know, because they're out in LA. So it's not like, you know, it could be an educational experience. It could be actually very interesting, but be prepared. So, all right, let's see what this other call we have here is. Name is John. I'm not sure the rest of this, but let's see. See, you called and it's kind of, all right, let's see what we got here. Hello, is this John?
Yes, Chris.
Yeah. What's not sure I
Hey, how you
understand the
doing?
screen here. Hey, welcome to the show. What's up?
Well, first, I want to say I'm a big fan. I've been watching you for years, and
Awesome.
I enjoy learning from you.
Thank
And
you.
it kind of brought me to a situation that I'm in that some of your red flags have been popping up for me.
Mm.
And I was wondering if I can run a few things by you about AA, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's talk about it. What you got?
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with that organization or kind of what goes on there.
I'm familiar
But
with the basics of the 12-step, and I actually, a couple of years ago, did a podcast with a guy on whether AA was a destructive cult as a model. And we kind of decided it wasn't, but we also said individual groups can get very culty depending on who's running them. So it's possible to have a really bad experience in an AA group. What were you looking at?
Well, some of these, the boxes you and John ATAC talk
Yep.
about,
Yep.
you know, our way is the only way. I hear that a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
then some of the like Scientology stuff, I believe AA became before Hubbard, but
Mm-hmm.
like doing things in present time, meditation. They have a triangle, unity. I can't think of the things, but it reminds me of that ARC triangle.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know
And
they had a triangle.
yeah, and then you know, just and then I feel some indoctrination coming into me. Now, I am powerless over, alcohol and
Yeah.
drugs. I've struggled a very long time with this,
Yeah.
and 24 years.
Mm.
And I just got my 5-month chip, and
Good for you.
the AA meetings are. Thank you, Chris. And
Yeah.
the AA meetings are opening back up, and I'm going back in.
Yeah.
And I feel this change in me.
Yeah.
My thinking's changing and my attitude, and I want to embrace, the AA, and but then all these, I listen to you too much, I think, and I was just
Right.
wondering if I could get a few of your thoughts on, like, what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, any group that's pushing black and white thinking is, my way or the highway. This is the only way. There can't be any other. Those are definitely red flags, no question about it. Let's also though look at the context in which this is being done. Um, you have been struggling with this for many, many years, and would you agree that when you enter into a program of action like this, that you want very clearly defined rails on which this road is taking you? Like you want to have a pretty clear path that you're walking on, yeah?
Oh, definitely, because what I was doing before was not working for me at all.
Yeah. So this kind of a program, which is a bottom barrel, hey, this is the last sort of thing, last chance kind of program. These are designed to create very solid rails for you for this road that you're walking on now. And they're not wishy-washy about it or offering a lot of nuance, because that's kind of part of the picture to to control people down this path to
Hmm.
sobriety, you know? So temper some of what you're hearing with that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I feel like you kind of like what you're saying. I need to keep it in that context. But then when I'm like, okay, I'm going with it, I'm going with it, and then it reminds me of that frog in boiling water where you keep raising
Yes.
it a degree, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And then I just hear one and one more thing. Like today, I get my chips and everything. I never knew there was a triangle on it. I was like, there's another like Scientology thing. I was never
Yeah.
part
Only
of Scientology. And it's just like each time it's like, bam, bam, there's another one.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
so,
it's more probable that Scientology got its triangles from AA than the other way around. But I totally get your point. Believe me, I do. I'm not brushing you off at all. You are good to be alert about this stuff because you are in a situation where people are easily taken advantage of. And keeping your critical
that's
thinking,
my fear. I'm being real
yeah,
vulnerable around there too and wanting help, and they're promising me something,
yeah,
and
yeah.
does this sound familiar?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So keeping, I want you to feel, I want you to be able to go to a place where you feel safe enough to be vulnerable and open up. But at the same time, it's never a bad idea to always have that critical thinking hat on, to always be aware of what's going on around you. Situational awareness, I think they call it, you know?
Oh yeah, I got that from being in bad neighborhoods with drugs, and then
You got
also,
it.
I did get a bit of a college education, and
Good.
you taught me a lot about critical thinking, actually. So I'd
Awesome.
like to thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And I've only really touched on a fraction of it. So please continue learning. Um, all you can really do with these groups is keep your eyes and ears open, be aware of what's going on. And if it starts to feel uncomfortable, you know, it's not like AA is going to be a nice, comfortable program. So if I say it starts to feel uncomfortable, I mean, if you start to feel like mentally like, wait a second, something's wrong here, that kind of uncomfortable. Don't be
Oh
afraid to
yeah,
speak
because
up.
what was that
Yeah.
Nexium cult?
Yeah.
I think you spoke on this, and I heard others, and they're like, well, it's uncomfortable. When it's uncomfortable, it's worth it.
Yeah,
And I don't know if
exactly.
that's where my personal growth is coming from, or is that
Right.
where their indoctrination's coming in.
That's the
And I go to
decision
several
point.
meetings,
Yeah.
not just the same one, so that if there are bad people there, they're not getting their hooks into me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, just be mindful of your surroundings. But also don't be afraid to talk to the leader or group member, or whoever is running the organizing it. I know they don't have like leaders as such, but
Yeah,
whoever's
chairperson.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to talk to them privately, within the group, or after the group or before, whatever. Um, to voice your concerns if you start feeling like something's not quite right, and listen to what they have
Okay.
to say, because at that level, you sometimes basically what happens with these groups, with the AA groups, is you might get some organizer type person who gets a bit too gung ho about all of this and starts pushing some culty stuff. But generally
Oh, there was
speaking,
that today. Yeah.
yeah. But generally speaking, it's pretty good people who are just trying to help as best they can. And hardly anyone there really has a whole lot of education on how to do this. They're just kind of winging it in many, many ways. They have their guidebook and stuff, and that's about it. So,
Yeah, because
you know,
you have sponsors and then sponsees,
yep,
and it's kind of like your juniors and seniors in the Sea Org or that master slave thing in Nexium.
yep,
And then you're teaching it to one another, like doing it to one another, like Scientology,
yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. Well, that's where, like I said, you keep your eyes open, your ears open, ask questions, and if it feels wrong for you, check out another group and see how that compares, if it's possible to, you know, whether it's
yeah, there's like Smart Recovery and you know
that's right.
uh, Celebrate Recovery and groups like that.
That's right. Because AA is not going to be a fit for everybody. It sounds like you're making progress. So I'm not encouraging you to leave right now. I mean, if it's
Mhm.
working, stay the course. But if it's getting weird and it's weird, or you're just like, this is getting in the way of my recovery, check out another group. You know,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, you know, I hope that helps.
Oh, definitely. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks for calling, man. Appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you.
All right. Well, I'll enjoy the rest of your program.
All right. Talk to you.
Bye.
All right. Good. Well, those were the calls in the queue so far. Let us go back to. Huh, that was a cool call. Um, all right, let's go to this. Um, well, we kind of covered the Jane Doe thing in that, my frustrations over the legal system of of Scientology and the best lawyers and all that. I was going to make that point on there because, I don't. Leah was quoted today on Tony's blog, saying to Jane Doe, and I don't know who she is, by the way. But Leah told her, "Look, you let no one down. This whole thing of taking on Scientology legally, going after them, agreeing to put your name into a lawsuit, and standing up loud and proud against an organization like that or any of these destructive cults is the very definition of bravery." And we really can't give these folks a hard time for backing off or freaking out when they are trauma survivors like Jane Doe is. I mean, she was sexually assaulted and abused as a minor at Clearwater Academy, is what her claims are. So it's totally understandable that she would be freaking out about all of this, and it really sucks that Scientology gets the upper hand over people like that, and that's why we got to keep doing this. I wish we didn't have to. but we do. All right. Now, let's see here. Boy, this auto screen voice to text thing is very, very funny. Maddie, I think. Let's see here. Maddie? Hello?
Hey, Chris, what's up? It's Maddie. Yep.
Yeah, Maddie. Okay. What's up?
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off that last caller with
Sure.
the AA conversation.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting organization. I've had some interaction with AA for a brief time, and I know that they do help lots of people, and alcoholism is definitely a real issue and health issue for a lot of people. But I don't know, like from my involvement with it, there was just, I don't know how to say it, like an underlying gut feeling weirdness to the whole
Mm-hmm.
group I was involved in anyway, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and there are people there that are, full on lifelong alcoholics. And then there are people that are there that were maybe mandated by a court for a DWI situation or something like that.
Right.
And
Right.
it's maybe what you would call a black and white situation where if you drink, you're an alcoholic. One drop of alcohol for anybody, whether it was a one-time mistake or it's a lifelong problem for the person.
Mm-hmm.
Any amount of alcohol, they consider you an alcoholic. That's where kind of my problem lies a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I think I get what you mean. Of course, again, it's sort of that guardrail, on the road kind of thing, They have to enforce more strict than usual measures in order to keep people disciplined and get them used to having discipline in their lives. But again, that being said, any of this can be taken too far, and every single individual has their own, how much discipline do they need? And if the group is exerting more than is necessary, that can backfire. So it's very much a matter of how you as an individual are doing with it. And if it's too much, then yeah, maybe it's too much.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, for those that suffer with alcoholism, I mean, they need those strict rails to keep them on that track.
Yep.
And there was a phrase they used to use in meetings that for alcoholics that 1,000 drinks are never enough, but one drink is too many
Right.
for alcoholics.
Sure.
And but sometimes I was feeling they were kind of blurring that line between someone with a serious alcohol problem and maybe somebody that occasionally imbibes.
Right.
I guess,
Well, there's
It's
clearly
kind
a
of like a
difference.
one size fits all.
Yeah, exactly. Well, AA's thing is definitely one size fits all, as far as I know. I mean, those 12 steps are not negotiable. As far as I understand it, you're going to do those. You're doing this program, this is what you're doing. Has that been your experience with it? I haven't done the program, so I can only speak from having read about it and talked to people about it.
Oh, absolutely, Chris. And it's I don't know if the phrase militant is too strong of a
Mm-hmm.
term to use.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very, these are the steps, and there's no straying left or right off of this straight line path.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, if that's the path that you need, and I think a lot of people who hit bottom do need that. They need structure and discipline in their lives, and it's going to have to be externally enforced, and it's uncomfortable as hell to experience that. There's no fun in that at all. Trying to climb out of that, that pit of addiction. So, it's a tough situation. It's very context specific. In other words, it depends very much on your circumstances as to whether it's crossing lines or not, you know?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And, I think, part of it too is, for people that go to meetings voluntarily, so who think that they do have a problem and it works for them, that's great. But I think that for others that were forced through whether, a court
Yeah.
system or whatever,
Yeah.
to go to these meetings and they could kind of get talked into thinking they have this problem. I don't know. It's weird. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly.
Well, if they don't have a problem and the court has ordered them to a 12-step program or an AA program, then yeah, that would be problematic for them, you know. So sure, I could see that. I don't know. I have zero idea statistically how often that happens. Um, do you feel that's what's happening to you?
Oh, well, when I was there, I was, unfortunately had a DWI. But part of my sentence was to attend AA for a allotted period of time, and not to justify my DWI because it definitely was a wrong thing to do when it put myself and more importantly other people in danger.
Yeah.
But I felt in the time that I needed to be there, I almost felt I was being talked into a problem I didn't necessarily have, and that it was just a kind of a one-off
right
problem. I was arrested for a DWI, and it was a one-off thing.
Yep.
But I was there for a significant amount of time, and the more I went, the more I felt they were drilling that into my head that you have a problem.
Right. And this was the one and only DUI you've ever had?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And would you say, I'm just kind of curious if you don't mind me asking some personal questions.
Not at all. Not
Okay,
at all.
cool. How old are you?
I'll be 46 this year.
Okay, cool. And do you think that you have a drinking problem? Or like what were the circumstances of getting behind a wheel while drunk? What happened there?
Yeah. Okay. This was over 2 decades ago that this happened.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I had just recently graduated college, and myself and a bunch of guys I had grown up with, we all graduated college at the same time. We went out for dinner and drinks.
Yep. And
bars closed. It was time to leave, and this was well before the days of Uber and Lyft and stuff like that.
Right.
And
no designated driver then?
No
Right.
designated driver, and
right.
We were in a suburban area where taxis on every street was not a really thing. Not
Yep.
to make excuses, but it was just an unfortunate decision just to get us home.
Yep.
And we got pulled over on our way back to a friend's house.
Got it. Okay, cool. Well, obviously a one-off. Might have been some overkill, I mean, just based on what you're saying, I obviously can't say for sure one way or the other, but yeah, sounds like a little bit much to go to a 12-step program because of one incident of that. How long were you there on the AA program?
Let's see. Well, my license was suspended for 6 months, and I had to do 3 or 4 meetings a week for a month.
Okay.
So I think all in all, I think I went to 12 meetings in that 30-day time period.
Cool. Okay. It's a lot of meetings in 30 days. And you have not had a recurrence of that since?
No.
All right.
I mean, I do drink. 98% of the time not to excess.
Good.
And certainly not when I do drink in excess, certainly don't get behind the wheel of a car again.
Right.
So
you learned your lesson.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, I did.
Good. Well, that's I guess at the end of the day what counts the most. But I definitely feel you on the, maybe that was a little bit of overkill, but at least you got the experience.
Yeah. Fortunately, you learn. Unfortunately, depending which way you look at it.
Exactly.
I mean, like I was saying, it seemed like with each successive meeting I went to, I was feeling like they were talking me into a problem I may or may not have necessarily had.
Yeah, exactly. And on that point, I definitely get where you're coming from, and I could see how that could be like disturbing or not cool. Makes sense to me that they would do that, but it's definitely a bit of a one-size-fits-all idea, and probably not the best way to approach everybody who's coming to them. Yeah, I get that.
Oh, for sure. And I understand that there are people out there that need that, and they get something out of it, and it helps them, keep themselves, sober and stuff. But I think it's that one size fits all scenario that troubles me a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, thank you for calling.
Oh, thanks for listening to me, Chris. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Talk to you soon.
Have a great night.
Yep. Bye-bye. All right. Got a couple others in the queue here, so let's go ahead and pop right to them. Brian, question about something with sign language, maybe? Brian, are you on the line here?
Yes, I am, sir. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, welcome to Critical Conversations. What's up?
All right. Well, the question I had during quarantine, just to occupy myself, I took up a few languages. I started Mandarin and just started American Sign Language. And my question was, did you know any deaf people during your time in Scientology? And my real question was, I was thinking about it, how would they do auditing on the cans if they couldn't hold the cans?
Right. Okay, so a couple questions on Scientology here. I knew one guy who was a deep sea underwater diver who had one of his ears blown out on the job. And he kept going up the bridge because he could still hear through one ear. I never saw a deaf person come into Scientology in all the years I was in, believe it or not. I saw vision impaired people come into Scientology, I think once or twice, but not deaf people, which is kind of interesting. You theoretically...
Do you think that was purposeful? Since, they couldn't claim to be able to cure that, obviously.
No, and they wouldn't say we can cure your deafness. Anybody in Scientology would say that would have to have rocks in their damn head. But it would be an interesting logistics issue to get somebody to have a sign language translator in an auditing room. Theoretically, you could do it. You'd have to change up the agreements and do some things, but theoretically you could do it. And you could do it at all levels of the bridge, because you get to a point, when you're doing the OT levels, most of those are solo, and you don't have to talk or hear anything for those levels. So, because it's just you and the meter and the worksheets and stuff, right? So, getting to that level would require somebody, signing to you. You could do it though, yeah.
It is possible. Okay,
Yeah.
I just popped in my head because I've never heard anyone. I watch you, I watch Leah, I watch a lot of people.
Yeah.
I've never really heard anyone talk about anyone that was hearing impaired.
And in all the years I was in, I never saw a hearing impaired person, at least not that I remember. And I'm trying to remember Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, all the other churches I've been across West US. Never once met a deaf person in an org. Actually, now that I sit here thinking about it, I'm a little bit surprised myself, but no, never ran into that. And you also...
How do you think they would handle it?
I think it would depend on the person, see, because they would have to be worth the logistical problems that would be entered in there. And they'd also have to get some kind of special permission or something, because an auditing session is supposed to just be the auditor and the pre-clear. And you'd have to have this sign language translator there, or you'd have to have an auditor who could sign. And I could
Yeah.
see an auditor actually dedicating themselves to learning how to do that if the person had money. You know, if some broke ass guy
Yeah.
came in who was deaf and said, I want to get auditing and I want to go up the bridge, they'd be like, okay, well, maybe you can read this book and go co-audit with your deaf friends and you guys figure that out, right? But if the guy
Yeah.
came in and he had money, oh, that's sweet money, right? Then they'll figure things out. So.
And to actually mention, because I was thinking of something real quick before I let you go here. There used to be a series of Reader's Digest books that were from the late 70s. And I recall one of them. It was either Mysteries of the Unexplained or it was something along those lines. But it specifically talked about Scientology because it talked about cults and religion.
Mm-hmm.
And it mentioned John Travolta at the time, and it mentioned the higher tiers of Scientology, and that at the time, like the highest reaches, I don't know what it was back then, OT3 or 4, but cost $50,000. How much has like that level changed, since that time?
You mean in terms of pricing?
Yeah.
To get, okay, OT 1 through 3 is sold as a package deal. You don't buy just OT 1 or OT 2 or OT 3 unless there's something weird going on. Usually you do a package deal. And I believe, if I remember right, now this is from way back. This is from early 2000s. When I was selling this stuff, it was about 25 to 30,000 for that package. And then you have OT4, which is delivered to you by an auditor. That's the OT drug rundown. So that's sold in 12 and a half hour blocks of auditing. And those intensives are on a sliding scale that roughly costs somewhere between $4,500 to $6,500 per intensive, depending on how many you buy at a shot and where.
Lord.
Yeah.
I was rich enough to be a Scientologist.
Yeah. OT4 is usually one intensive. So it's only one 12 and a half hour block. But OT5, which comes right after, of course, is lots of intensives. And it's also delivered to you by an auditor. And that's usually about 4 to 5 intensives at least. Same pricing, right? So that's where some of the bigger bucks come in. That's where you're topping 100,000, because you also have all these other things thrown in. You have materials you have to buy. You got 2 e-meters you have to buy. Those are $5,000 a pop. You've got the sec checks you have to do before you get onto the OT levels. It's called OT preps and eligibility. Yeah. So, and then OT 6 and 7 are a whole nother order of magnitude of pricing. I think OT 6 is like $10,000 or something, and OT 7 is, you're auditing OT 7 at home mostly. So anyway, this is where the money just escalates. So
yeah. Well, I'll let you go here, but I just want to say, just from watching, I was actually watching some of your first videos earlier today, your very, very first one.
Very first one.
And just seeing the change in you from then to now, you look so much happier and so much better, and like you can physically see a difference, and it's great to see.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Feels great too. It really does. Thanks for calling.
I'm glad. You have a good night, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
These are great. You guys have been doing some great calls tonight. All right. So, all right. We've got one more call in the queue, and we will get to that in a moment. I did want to just follow up on the last bit of that call. I was going to actually talk about this a little bit because I've got this Critical Clips channel, and I don't pimp it nearly enough. So if you guys are not subscribed to my other YouTube channel, get on there, right? You can get to it from my YouTube homepage. It's called Critical Clips, and it's just little clips of individual questions I've answered or snippets out of videos that I've made or interviews that I've done. And it's a lot of fun. I think I just posted like number 250 clip or something, because they come out almost daily. And anyway, check that out. But in doing that, I've been going back through all of my video library to pull these clips, and I've been doing it chronologically. And so I'm up to the point now where I'm interviewing my mom. If you guys remember those interviews that I did with my mom, and that was awesome. But it's really humbling for me to go back and look at my early podcast, the Sensibly Speaking podcast, when I first started with Ruth, my friend, who was my co-host, and we were talking about news and stuff. And sometimes I would get on these rolls about things. And this was within a couple of years of leaving Scientology that we started this. I think it was 4 years ago that I'm talking about now, back in 2016. And it's so funny. I wish I could recommend this to everybody. I wish everybody had video they could go back and see themselves from a few years ago, because you can't deny the reality, the truth of what you're seeing. And you're seeing yourself saying stuff that you go, oh, wow, I really thought that. And then you go, oh, yeah, no, I do remember thinking that. And oh, I was a foolish person. You know? And you see how you've changed over time. And it's just a wonderful experience. But it's humbling, because you see, okay, for example, there was a podcast I did with Ruth where I went on a roll about explaining why I am socially liberal but fiscally conservative. This was this thing I had, right? That I thought this was how I was, and I watched myself argue this, and I'm watching it, and I'm just like, wow, yeah, that was just not true. You know, like that's not what I've ever been. But I was under this idea that I was, you know, and watching myself defend it, it was kind of fun. Anyway, I want to thank Cynthia and Couch there for your super chats. Very much appreciated. Thank you. And let's get to this caller in the queue here in reference to something, current questions or something from Omaha. Mark. All right, here we go. Mark, are you there?
Hey, I am.
Hey, welcome to the show.
No, thank you very much. I thought I've written to you enough. I need to talk to you. So,
cool. Well,
here I am.
Yeah.
Just kind of some follow-up. I don't have a whole lot. Like I say, I just kind of want to make an appearance. I'm that way.
Yeah.
Back to the original AA caller.
Yeah.
My mom worked in that a long time as a nurse. She was working in a hospital environment, but tied in with a lot. I would say one thing anybody going into AA needs to look for ultimately is a group that they match. In other words, there's lots of groups that have a focus, or not focus so much, but things like single parents, for example, might be a kind of a theme of a group. So you're in with people who are in a similar circumstance. Or I know there's LGBT groups, things like that. So I would say to anybody being involved with AA to definitely ultimately seek out a group that they feel very comfortable with, just for the other members. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
That's a good point. If I might interrupt you for just a moment, let me build on that, because I am just now thinking, you know, the Secular Hub here in Denver has a secular AA meetup, and they don't look to a god on step one, but they do surrender to whatever however they've figured it out. I'm not going to sit here and say I know all the steps and how they've worked it out, but it is a fully secularized version of AA, which I find fascinating. So even that is possible. I know they have groups up in Canada and all through the US that are offered through Skeptic and secular groups as well. So that alone might be something that might appeal to people along exactly the lines you were just talking about.
Yeah, I guess that would also depend on where the person is at. If they're in a large city, you've got a lot more access, whereas if you're a small town, there may only be one group. So
exactly.
That would make a difference too.
Big time.
Yeah. Oh crap! I hope I don't forget what I was going to say.
Did you forget the second point? Did I throw you off?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
That's all right. It'll come to me in just a second here.
Yeah, no problem. No, take your time. I
But-
gotta say, I was really surprised by the secular AA thing. That was the thing that surprised me the most out of all the little subgroups that were operating here in Denver.
Yeah, here I'm at, there's a lot of them too. So I know one of the things I was going to comment on was pricing on I think it was your last call that had all talking about the pricing and things for the different Scientology stuff.
Yep.
Back when I was in it, you could get the entire OT package, 1 through 8. Of course, it wasn't available at the time, for something like $2,500 if you paid in advance. It was
Wow.
unbelievably cheaper than it is now.
Wow. Is that early 70s you're talking about?
Oh yeah, very early 70s.
Yeah. Whole different
Before
bridge
they started
too.
with, well, yeah, the names are the same, but the content changed.
That's right. That's right. Changed
honestly,
big time.
the old content was a lot more interesting.
That's what I've heard. And looking at it, it looked a little bit more interesting to run because it was more along the lines of the old Route 1, Route 2 stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. If you're talking the bridge versus the Odyssey.
Yeah. Like they were going for exterior and they were going for full perception. They were going for a grand tour and stuff like that. If I remember right,
yeah. Yeah, OT6 was kind of the grand tour, that type of thing. It's been a while since I did it.
Oh no, of course. I just, totally. And I'm just throwing stuff out at you left and right here. But it's interesting. Most people aren't aware of the fact that the early 70s, mid 70s is when the more modern bridge stuff came out with all the body Thetan stuff on new aerodynamics for OTs, and then what eventually became OT7 and then the new OT8. So sometimes people get a little confused because they see new this, new that, and they don't realize that back in the day it was a completely different bridge, So it's interesting talking about that sometimes.
Well, one of the things that kind of got me at the time, because when I was in, before I went out to AO and did those levels, I always heard the locals in town in the mission talking about who were, had done them already. Oh yeah, OT3 expanded is really where it's at. OT3 was okay, but OT3 expanded, that really started handling things for me, that type of conversation.
Yep.
So when I went out there, I was all excited. I went through OT, and I got up to OT3, read the facts, and I thought, well, this is a little strange, but went along with it.
Understatement of the century.
Well, yeah, at that point it wasn't. But so then that was also the time they had first released OT7. Now the EP of OT7 at that time. This is old OT7, of course.
Yep.
It was something to do or something to the effect of regaining full intention or something like that. So your intention was so much stronger.
Right.
So what they did then is after you completed OT3, then you went to, or if you're an old OT3 person, you were coming back to get OT3 expanded, your next step before OT3 expanded was to go through part of OT7, the audited part. It had an audited part and a civil part. So you did the audited part with an auditor, and that increased your intentions. And then you went to do OT3 expanded.
Right.
And
That's
get
right.
into OT3 expanded.
That's right.
You open up the packet. It's the exact same thing as OT3. So, of course, my course super is sitting there watching me read this and just waiting for the reaction. And he says, before I could even say anything, he says, the difference now is you have more intention. So go back and get rid of more BTs. So,
right. Yeah.
I was not happy with that. And
really,
I suffered through it. Yeah, I suffered through it quietly. I was smart enough to not make a big stink about it, but I got through that, and then because I wanted to go and do the rest of them, which then went to OT4, which they had the OT4 rundown, probably somewhat similar to what it is now. I don't know. I haven't seen the new one.
Yeah, drug rundown stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely part of that. Was drug rundown. There's some other things. It was interesting, but I think there's a solo part to it then also.
Wow.
But OT5, now that was real different. It was like a massive having this process. It was kind of fun. It was like that just to compare, for whatever reason I remember these. OT1 was $75. OT2 was $500. OT3 was $850. OT4, it was $200 for the rundown part, and I don't remember how much for the audited part. I want to say $500. But OT5 was $850, just like OT3. So, expecting something kind of big here. And then 6, I think, was 500, and 8, I don't remember what that was at all.
Interesting.
But anyway, so I get on OT5, and it was kind of fun stuff. It was just light and fluffy, and then, like I said, a big havingness process. And then OT6 is where you get into the, write intend for somebody to write a letter to you or a postcard or whatever it was, and that type of stuff.
Huh.
And then you go back and rehab what you done in OT7, and then you do the solo part of 7, which was, again, more intention stuff.
Right.
But
$800
yeah,
in $800 in 1973 was equivalent now to $4,650.
yeah,
4,650 would
yep.
be rough equivalent
That
now.
that sounds about right
Yeah, still
compared to what they're
way
actually
cheaper than it
charging
is
for
now. Yeah.
it. Oh yeah. But the funny thing was, not too long after that, I was pretty much removed myself from Scientology, but did run across people every so often. And that was a few years later. It's when the knots started coming out,
Right.
new era dynamic rotees.
Right.
And I thought, well, what is that all about? I wonder what that is. I wonder what, but I wasn't about to go sign up for it. But I ran into somebody who was actually a Knots auditor at the time, and I asked her, and she knew, she knew my background. She knew I was, up there, so I had done 3 and all that, so it wasn't like a big reveal. I said, so what is Knots all about? And she says, oh, it's just getting rid of more BTs.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God,
Right.
I don't want. I'm done with that for sure. It's just more BTs.
Right.
And then, of course, Knots turned into the new OT5 and 7 or whatever it is numbers. So,
Oh man.
anyway.
Well, thank you for that little walk down memory lane. I have not actually had a chance to interact with somebody directly who had done those levels and could still remember some part of them. I've talked to people who did them, but most of them were like, yeah, I don't remember what's on there, So this is kind of interesting. Thanks for giving us that.
I got a copy of them someplace. If you really want an interesting story, talk to me another time, and I'll tell you about going to Flag before it was publicly known as Flag.
I would be very interested in that story. Give me a call next week or the week after, and let's do it.
Okay. I will try to do that.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Man. Yep.
Love your show. Keep up the good work.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And I got a couple of thank yous to give out here. Fancy Schmancy and Ben Barnes, thank you very much for your super chats. Ben asks a question here. He says, the Big Blue Scientology building is huge. I know there's staff accommodation inside and a cafe on the ground floor, but what else is in the building? Can you take us through the floors? It changes over the years. So I'll tell you that most of that building, the Big Blue building with the Scientology sign on top, is mostly berthing. It's just places, rooms, dorms, or 2D couples, berthing spaces where they live, where they sleep. And that's what most of that building is. On the lower floor, there is INCOM, the International Network of Computer Organized Management, which is the computer division of Scientology. That is located there, at least it was up until the point that I left. And let's see here. Yes, you do have the staff canteen or a public canteen and the galley. If you go down to the basement level, you've got the galley down there. I mean, that's where we were working all the time, scrubbing pots and all that crap. There was a uniform exchange area down there. Uniform in charge had her office down there. You get down into the basement of the building through that lower floor. Security has offices down there on the ground floor. In fact, that's where security's main command post is down there on the ground floor in the there's a U-shaped drive on, I think it's Vermont, not Vermont. What's that other street on the other side? Anyway, on that side is where security is. And let's see, there's the vehicle repair unit and the engineering area, and all that's kind of in the back area over where the trash dumpsters are, and there's an open area over there. So, but most of the rest of the building, floor by floor, is just berthing spaces. That's also where the RPF is on the second, at least where it was when I was there. It was on the second, first, and ground floors of the west, I think it was the west wing of the building, was pretty much just RPF spaces. That's where I lived for 3 years. And then let's see, up on the top floor, up on the 7th or 8th floor, you sometimes have the EPF, the Estates Project Force, which is sort of the boot camp for the Sea Org. That moves around to various places, but that's generally where they are operating. Because that when you go in and arrive to the Sea Org and you're going to become a Sea Org member, you got to go through this EPF program. And so they sleep together, eat together, muster together. They're their own little unit. So anyway, that's kind of what's around on that building. Let's see, the fifth floor, by the way. Sorry, most important part. 5th floor is completely restricted access. Nobody gets into the 5th floor unless you are CMO or higher. You have to be very senior, RTC or CMO, in order to get into the 5th floor, because that's the CMO berthing, the senior executive spaces when they come down from the gold base to stay at PAC. That's where they sleep. And David Miscavige has an entire wing of the 5th floor that is just his space. And for sleeping, living, quarters, whatever. That's the only place on the PAC base, that part of the 5th floor, David Miscavige's part, it's the only place on the PAC base I never got access to. Excuse me. I got into the 5th floor. We did some renovation work there when I was on the RPF, actually. We had to be supervised. There had to be a CMO person watching us the whole time, but we were there. So I did get a glimpse into the 5th floor that way, but nobody got into that restricted area. So that's that. Excuse me. And Jessica Walker, hi, love you. Thank you. Jackie Colbury. Oh, and Alex, my God, man. You're a wild man staying up late to watch this show. Anyway, she asks, why is the date written that way? Just habit. The 13 May 2020 is just an old habit of how I would date things from back when I was, I don't know, years and years. And the 5/20/20 is just a pretty standard date abbreviation. So that's why. No biggie. I try to use date formats where it's crystal clear what the day versus the month versus the year are. Okay, yeah, none of the elevators worked in the AOLA area. They fixed the elevators at AOLA, but there are 2 elevators in the main big blue building, and one of them has been busted and broken down for decades, and I doubt they've fixed it even by now. Okay. All right, so looks like we got somebody in the queue here. So let us take this first row. Critical. Hello, hi. Are you there?
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, is this Chris Shelton?
This is Chris Shelton. Who may I ask?
Oh my goodness,
calling?
no way.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of yours. I go by the name Bird Girl. You've probably seen me before. Oh my God, this is so unreal.
Well, awesome. Well, it's all good, and welcome to the show, and thanks for calling. Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, well, I want to start out by saying that I've been a huge fan of yours for years, probably like 5 years, God, like 2015. Wow. Or 2000, whenever you first started your show. And the reason it hit home for me is because I am a former cult survivor myself. I can barely talk. I'm sorry.
No problem. Take your time. You're doing fine.
I feel like I'm talking to like Brad Pitt or something. This is crazy. Oh my God.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
So I was a part of an earth, a cult, but regarding like the earth and environment. Mm-hmm. And I've been following you for a long time. And I guess, I listened to all your Scientology things, critical thinking that you're talking about. And I've been watching the X community for a long time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are mentors to me, like you, and of course, Leah Remini. Mm-hmm. And Karen, like Mike Render, I love all of you guys. You have helped me out through so many bad times. And I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for you guys. And there's been like the little disturbance lately with like, I don't even remember his name, but the Steve something or other
The
show.
Mango,
And I
yes.
just want to know, like what happened, because I thought that Karen was against Scientology, and then he's saying he like basically showed proof that she audited him and he was suicidal, and like we're all trying to get regular mental health services, and it was just disturbing to me because she's my mentor and like you're my mentor, and I just want to know what you think about it. Like what do people like me do who follow you guys and look for you for guidance?
Right. Okay. I can only talk about this so much for reasons that will probably become clearer, unfortunately, a little bit down the road. So, I don't have prepared statements about this or anything like that. I would like to address this in such a way that I don't contribute to drama, which is very difficult to do given the situation right now, which is why you see me a little hesitant to talk about it at all. Because the personality aspect of the ex-Scientology community has been something I've struggled with for the last 7 years. And it's been a learning process. And as I mentioned in my earlier Q&A videos, it's not just the ex-Scientology community where drama happens. It happens in all these communities. Excuse me. Karen was someone who left Scientology and continued to practice it as an independent Scientologist for a number of years. And that is not a deal breaker for me to be a friend of somebody's. That's not like the oh my God, you're still auditing people. I don't even talk to me. I don't want to know you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't do that. At least not for that reason. There would have to be other reasons as well. Now, Karen stopped doing that. At least she told me that she'd stopped doing that quite some time ago, years. And like I said, I believed her. I still believe her. I don't think she's auditing now, and I don't think she has been for a while now. At the end of the day, it's her business, not mine. It's not my place to judge how she should live her life. As far as what happened between her and Steve Mango, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't have the full layout of the whole timeline of this, and then this, and then this, and then this. What I do know is that Karen is a very sincere person who lost her son, her one and only son, to Scientology. And she, that was a huge, huge blow to her. And huge. I think she's still processing it to some degree, and she's not using Scientology anymore to do that. Mango got auditing from her years ago. If he wants his money back, he should have just called her and asked her for her money back. But he didn't do that. Instead he decides to do these videos and create this big ruckus. And I know that all of that was completely unnecessary. And he's doing it anyway. So I can't really respect that. If the goal is get my money back, get your money back. There was never a problem with that. Anyway, so that's what I kind of know and can speak to a little bit. I know it's not a lot. I don't know. Does that help at all?
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you for clearing it up. I just was, I guess some of us are concerned, but it's okay. I just hope all of you get your recovery that you need.
Well,
Or
exactly.
all of us,
Yeah, it's troubling. It's difficult because it becomes he said, she said, and personalities, and well, let me show you this, but then he doesn't show you this and this and this and this and this to clarify what the whole picture is. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. And then I try to get in the middle of that, and it's a no-win scenario for anybody who steps in anywhere near that. And that's why you see me going, I've seen so much drama over the years, and this is just another round of it. And because it doesn't contribute to effective action against the Church of Scientology or against its survivors, or or for its abuse victims, that's why I kind of go, I don't really want to get into the middle of this whole thing. And but I also don't want to watch my friends be lied about, so I say something, and then anyway, it's a difficult position no matter what you do.
Okay. No, that is fine. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Well, thanks for calling.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. All right. Yeah, difficult situation, no doubt about it. Okay. Okay, Michael Jackson asked me a question here. Now, I'm not doing big Q&A, but I am going to wrap up the show here, and let's answer Mike's question. Who created the guide to the materials and made the descriptions and does their artwork? Golden Era Productions. And that's the most specific answer I can give you because I don't know exactly who in Golden Era. They have artists, they have copywriters, they have, various people with various jobs to put these publications together, design the artwork, design the logos, and lay it all out. And, it's a production line up there. But it all came out of Golden Era Productions up at the international base. That's where that stuff was produced. Okay. Oh, I need to stop talking about AA till I do some actual research. Okay. I've done that research, but thank you. All right, so let's wrap up the show. Thank you very much, everybody who came around and watched me babble on here. Thanks to all the callers, all the super chats, all the support you guys are giving me, and the show and my channel. I wish I could express in words how amazing it feels to be at the receiving end of some of your communications and know that I'm able to help a little bit in this world. That's kind of a big deal for me. So thank you very much for all of that. And with that, hopefully Melissa will be back next week. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that she just gets well and all is well in the world of Shelton. Okay, guys. And with that, we will wrap it up. All right.